All right, hi there, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Tuesday. Here's your video for today. It's much shorter. Not a lot of notes today. So, update: I will be officially out until after the holiday break. So I will see you all next year. Thanks for doing all the work and being good for the sub and whoever else is in the room during your class. What we're doing today: very small amount of notes, and then you're going to do a reading, and then you're going to paragraph, and it's all going to be the same topic today, and it's going to be the Dred Scott case. It is such a massively important Supreme Court case in American history that we're going to spend one whole day on it. So Dred Scott falls under our learning target for the week. I can analyze the events of the 1850s that led to the American Civil War, because this is going to be a massive event that'll lead to the Civil War, and will happen in 1857. And again, remember, slavery started the Civil War. All of these events that are leading up to the Civil War all have to do about slavery. Okay? So let's just jump right into it. If you can be so kind and go to OneNote. If you go to U.S. History Notes, go back to your Unit 3B Division Notes from yesterday. And then your page should look like this. So, Dred Scott, let's talk about this. And if you weren't here yesterday, the notes will all be posted on the collaboration space as well as the video from yesterday. So, Dred Scott, 1857. Dred Scott will be a slave. Dred Scott's owner will end up moving to a free territory. So it's a territory, it's not a state yet, but it's a territory in the Midwest where slavery is not allowed. However, it's pretty hard for a slave just to leave on their own, but he was living in a free territory. Dred Scott ended up moving back to a slave state with his owner. And then while he moved back, the owner died. Once the owner died, Dred Scott said, hey, now, I have a case. I was free the second we set foot on free territory soil, because you weren't allowed to have slaves in that territory, and they lived there for a few years. So his argument was that he was free. And lots of abolitionist attorney is a lawyer, up north wanted to take his case, because, that was, if you made it to free soil, you were free, no questions asked. And not only did he make it there, but his owner moved him there and he lived there. And his argument was he was free the whole time and he should never have been brought back into slavery. So he stated that because he lived in a free territory, he was a free man, not a slave. Sounds like he could win. However, tensions are very high at this time. And this case is going to make it all the way to the Supreme Court, but he is going to lose. And I know what you're thinking, LT, this is all the notes today? Man, I want to learn so much more about this case. Well, don't worry. You're going to read about it. You're going to read primary sources about it. Super exciting. So here's just the nuts and bolts, and you're going to get into the details on your own once this video is done. Supreme Court is going to say he loses it because it straight up says he's not a citizen. He's property. So he's a human being, but he's not. He's a property because he's a slave. Again, their words, not mine. And because of that, property technically can't file a lawsuit. Citizens can file a lawsuit, but property cannot. The Supreme Court had a lot of pro-slavery justices in the Supreme Court at this time. And they also ruled that Congress could not ban slavery in any of the territories. This goes back to the Kansas-Nebraska Act, popular sovereignty that happened just before this. So they said, well, guess what? Congress can't say that was a free territory, that people get to decide. And this is going to officially repeal the Missouri Compromise. The Kansas-Nebraska Act that we talked about last class, and Bleeding Kansas and all that violence, was shown more of a, okay, yeah, we get it. The Missouri Compromise is gone. But this was the legal, official end of the Missouri Compromise. So obviously Southerners are going to love this ruling, while Northerners are going to hate it. This straight up meant, because remember, the Supreme Court's the final say, that slavery can spread into all the territories. And again, this is going to be 1857. The Civil War will start in 1861. So the closer we get to 1861, the more of these events we talk about, the more divide we're going to have, the more growth we're going to see in sectionalism. Remember, sectionalism is the extreme pride of your section of the country over the good of the nation as a whole. All right, that was, again, nuts and bolts. There's so much more to this case, and you're going to read about it. I understand there is, a good amount for you to type in right here, but I'm done talking about the notes. Again, if the sub can pause the video, if you need some extra time to type that in before I move on to the next thing, please do that. All right, once you're done with the notes, go to Unit 3B, Lesson 6, Dred Scott v. Sanford, and your page will look like this. The only difference is this video will be right around here. And here's what you're doing for the rest of the class. You have a small reading to do right here. And then it'll go with these 3 questions over here. They're multiple choice questions. I don't think this is too tough at all. It's just more detail of what I just said. Does it more justice than I did. And then once you're done reading that and answering those questions, you're going to go over here and you are going to answer this question. So in a paragraph, I would like a nice, give me 5 to 7 sentences. I'm not asking for anything too crazy. You're answering this question. What did the ruling in the Dred Scott case mean for African Americans in 1857? Also, sorry, my highlighting is really wacky right now. All right, here we go. So, what did the ruling in the Dred Scott case mean for African Americans in 1857? So, to help you do that, use the notes. This reading up here in these questions, but as well as please make sure you read this small little segment right down here. And that's from the Chief Justice who gave the ruling in the Dred Scott case for the Supreme Court. So please make sure you're reading through that. It is a primary source. The wording's a little bit tricky, but you guys are able to tackle the primary source from the 1700s. I think the language is much, much easier in the 1850s than it was in the 1770s. So you should be fine. And what you're going to do, you're going to answer that question in the form of a paragraph while answering these sub-questions. So explain the context of the case, meaning what was the history behind it, what are the details of the case, and then analyze and explain. You've been doing this all year, just in case you don't remember. That's the definition of both those words right down there. Analyze and explain the final ruling by the Supreme Court, aka what does that ruling mean for African Americans living in the United States in 1857. And then you can type your paragraph. That's not much space there. You can type it to the side right over here. All right. Okay. So that's what you have to do for the rest of the class. If you have any questions, please message me on Teams. This will be graded, so please make sure you do this. And tomorrow we will finish up causes of the Civil War, and we will talk about my favorite president, and I will argue the greatest president of the United States, the early political career of Abraham Lincoln. All right. Thank you guys so much for all you've been doing. Thank you for your patience while I've been out. I will talk to you tomorrow. And of course, go Bills.